Hello, this is Mr. Bailey, and as many of you will know, I'm the head of history at Trentham Academy. Hi, Year 8. This is the presentation you are going to get in the lessons prior to making your option choices. And for parents of carers out there, hi there. This is a presentation for you as well to give you the information that you need to be able to help your son or daughter or child to make the correct decision of taking GCSE history for the next 3 years. So we've got an introduction slide, why study history. We've got a link that you can look at there if you decide that you want to. Gives you a quick introduction of some of the things that why we think history is important, but I will go through that on the next slide. Well, welcome back. I think that the reason why you should study history is there's 4 reasons. Firstly, employers value it. So the reason why employers value it is because many of the skills that you get taught in history are skills that you will use successfully in the world of work, whether that's just simple written, verbal communication, the ability to read information and pick information out, being able to formulate and support an argument, maybe be able to influence people into coming round to your point of view with providing them with evidence. I think one of the most important things for any GCSE, why you should study, is the course is enjoyable. Okay, both Mr. Baker and I are very passionate about the subject, and we do our best to make it as enjoyable as possible. It helps you to understand the world around you. Okay, the world in 2021 is very, very different than maybe 10, 15, but 100 or 1,000 years ago was very, very different. But the events that have occurred in the past do heavily influence the modern day world. And I think not only does it help you with employers, but if you look at wherever your next stage is, a GCSE in history will help you, whether that's in college, whether you're taking, I don't know, a course of A-levels or BTEC or any other qualifications, universities. I know that many of you who are watching this presentation will want to go to one of the top universities, what we call the Russell Group University, which are the top 30 universities in the country. And they, having a good GCSE grade or an A-level in history, will go a long way into securing those top courses, those positions on those top courses. In the world of work, as I've mentioned before, or if you're deciding to go a different route and you're going to go the apprenticeship route, where you're going to do partly in college and then you're going to learn on the job. Those skills that you learn in history are going to help you in an apprenticeship. And I think most providers of apprenticeships will value a GCSE in history. So why study history? Well, what we've got is we've got a very famous Briton there, Winston Churchill, the former Prime Minister who took us through World War II. And he famously said, study history. In history lies all the secrets of statecraft. So the ability to be able to run a big country organisation, a government, being a prime minister, being a president, these skills that you learn as a historian are the skills that you will need to be successful in any job, including the top job in this country. Okay, not only did Winston Churchill value history, regardless of what you think about Boris Johnson has a degree in history and is a historical background. Well, now we're getting to the course in itself. So Edexcel History GCSE. Well, what do you study? Well, this is the order that you study them from year 9 to year 11. But hopefully we will finish the course by the Christmas of year 11, which gives us 6 months to actually go through and do lots of revision in class. So we actually start off with the second paper out of the 3, not paper 1. We start off with the American West 1835 to 1895 in year 9, and we do Anglo-Saxon and Norman England 1060 to 1087, which will take us up to maybe May half term, maybe a little bit later in year 9. We feel that the skills that you will need to complete those 2 exams are the ones that are best suited to a year 9 student. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of time before the summer of year 9 to do medicine through time, medieval medicine right to the present day. And then when we are getting towards around about sort of Easter of year 10, you do a 6-week study, which is a historical environment study. We complete medicine first, and then we go back and we look at World War I and the British sector of the Western Front. And what we do is we look at the trench system, we look at the battles, but we also look at how World War I had an impact on medicine and how medicine developed as a result of World War I. Then finally, a new course that I've just completed for the first time this year is Weimar and Nazi Germany. So basically, this is the time period in between World War I and the start of World War II. And we talk about how World War I led to the development of the first German democracy, which was known as the Weimar government, right until the development of the Nazi Party and Hitler becoming Führer by 1934. And then we talk about his impact and the Nazis' impact on Germany until 1939. So I think you would agree there that we've got a great mix of topics. Let's go through the papers individually. So you will do 3 papers in the final exams. They have different topics and they have different amounts of time. So first one is paper 1, the posh phrase of saying it's a thematic study in the historical environment. Well, the thematic study is medicine, that you were doing medicine through time, and then the historical environment that you do is World War I and the British sector of the Western Front. It's basically 2 topics in one paper. It's an hour and 15 minutes. It gives you about 30% of your final grade. It's a mixture of short, middle, and longer answers. And in the World War I and the British sector of the Western Front, you do use some historical sources to answer your questions. And those skills are the skills that you need to answer those questions with sources will be taught during the time of doing that particular topic. Paper 2. Paper 2 is the period study and British depth study. So you've got to study a period of history that is a piece of worldwide history, and we've chosen the American West. And you have to do a British depth study, and we've chosen what we think is the most interesting, which is Anglo-Saxon and Norman England. You go from one topic to another. This is the longest of the exams. It's an hour and 45 minutes and formulates about 40% of your final grade. Okay, it's a mixture of the American West is sort of medium length answers, and Anglo-Saxon England is mainly one short answer, one medium answer, and an essay at the end, which is a longer answer. Paper 3. Paper 3 is the one that you do the last in the end of year 10 and the beginning of year 11. It's your modern depth study. And our modern depth study is Weimar and Nazi Germany. It's an hour and 20 exam. It's 30% of your final grade. And what you will do here, this is, I think, academically the most difficult of the 3 papers. And that's why we do it last, because we feel that students are more mature to be able to deal with the concepts needed to get a good grade on that particular paper. You will use a mixture of sources and interpretations, and basically sources are primary sources from the time of study. So a newspaper article, a piece of propaganda that's being produced at that time, and interpretations are always secondary. They're historians producing articles after the time of study, and you use both of them in order to answer a set of short answer, medium answers, and longer answers. So let's have a look at the paper. You can see there a classic picture of a Native American, an Indian in the American West. And what do we study? Well, we split the course into 4 parts. We talk about, to start off, we break down all the myths. There's lots of stuff that isn't true about the American West. And we talk about the reality. Now, the example I'm going to use is the example of cowboys. So I'm sorry for any parents out there who, if you particularly like cowboy films and westerns, but I'm going to maybe break your heart a little bit, but to make you aware is that A lot of what you see in Westerns, the classic John Wayne character, the white cowboy who is successful, wealthy, gets the girl at the end. It's not true. It's not true. The reason why we have these cowboys portrayed the way that they are is because it was the whites who won. They rewrote history for the entertainment of the American people, and then that becomes the reality that we see in modern day films. The reality of the cowboy, for example, is that the majority of them were black, Spanish or Mexican. They were part-time workers. They weren't very well paid. And yes, they would they would go into towns and drink and gamble, but really a lot of the fighting at noon just didn't happen, where two people agree to fight and then have a shootout. That didn't happen. The reality is that if you had a problem with somebody, you just shoot them in the back. We then talk about expansion. We move from the original 13 colonies that are set up by the British Empire, and we talk about how the rest of Northern America was colonized, and we talk about who went west. So we talk about people who were going for farming, people who were trying to strike it rich with gold, people who were trying to escape religious persecution. For example, a group called the Mormons. We also talk about, after the end of the Civil War, how many black Americans who were freed as slaves went west to start a new life when the Civil War had ended and slavery was made illegal and the slaves were freed. So then we talk about, as these groups move, there's conflict between the two major groups. The Native American population, the Indians, plus the group that we call the whites, and we call them whites because that was the group that dominated the government, and it leads to the Indian Wars and some very nasty things. And you're going to find out that the Indians were very trusting people, and the Americans did many bad things to the Indians, and there was many sort of key battles with lots and lots of deaths. Finally, we talk about consolidation, where the Indians have been virtually wiped out. They're in a few small areas, but really by the end, by 1895, modern day America as we know it is pretty much there. And that's the American West. Anglo-Saxon and Norman England, 1060 to 1087. Sort of a typical resource that we would use there. And then we split the course into 3 sections. We talk about Anglo-Saxon England first. Well, who were the Anglo-Saxon? The native English people that ruled England before the Norman conquest. We talk about who they were, who the important people were, what sort of systems they had in place, how it was ordered, in what sort of hierarchy they had. We talk about some of the key individuals, the barons that were important helping the king run the country. And then obviously what we move on to is the Norman conflict. And if you know anything about your history, year 8 and parents out there, Edward the Confessor is on his deathbed in 1066. He is a very religious gentleman, but dies childless. And there are 4 people who have a claim to the throne. And we focus on really 3 of them. Harold Hardrada, he is the Viking king who launches an attack before the Battle of Hastings that Harold Godwinson managed to successfully defeat. We talk about Harold Godwinson, who is declared king on Edward the Confessor's, when Edward the Confessor dies. He's declared king by the Witan, which is the Anglo-Saxon government. And then we talk about William, Duke of Normandy, who becomes William the Conqueror, who is very, very angry for 2 reasons. He believes that he should be king of England because A, Edward the Confessor promised him the crown before his death, and also the Normans have told us in the Bayeux Tapestry and the information that they produced that actually Harold Godwinson promised to support Harold William, Duke of Normandy, in his right to be king, but then goes against it when he becomes king. So we lead to that conflict in the Battle of Hastings, and William defeating Harold Godwinson and becoming William I. Once we've completed the Battle of Hastings, this is traditionally where most of our courses end. We are at Key Stage 3 doing a bit more on this, but the real interesting part, I believe, of this course is the Normanisation of England. How do the Normans change England from Anglo-Saxon England to a Norman version of England? And this Normanisation of England has an impact on all of us today. So, for example, the language that we speak, it would be unrecognisable to people of Anglo-Saxon England. The language that we speak is a mixture of everything. It's a mixture of Old English, Latin, and French. Many of the words that we speak are you will see the similarities to French words. But not only did we talk about the language, talk about the culture, we're going to talk about how the system changed, the rule of law changed, and also how our religion changed as a result of the Normans. So then we move on to medicine. Medicine 1252 present day. This will be the first paper that you do. We move medieval England or medieval medicine, and we discuss in detail how the health and the practice of medicine developed from medieval times to 21st century. And you can see the two diagrams there of sort of the very basic care that you've got, mostly some sort of herbal remedy being given in the top left-hand corner that may have been poisonous and finish the person off, to the fantastic use of technology and the teams of doctors performing life-saving surgery in the bottom right-hand corner. We will then link that to how progress has been made throughout time through different medical factors such as war, okay, science, which is the theory of medicine, superstition, which maybe stopped medicine progressing in early days, and the many individuals that we've got, like the fantastic scientists, the individual scientists who've developed these vaccines for COVID. Once we've completed the medicine course, what we do is we do a separate topic on the British sector of the Western Front 1914 to 1918. And this is where maybe GCSE history has got something a little bit different to offer than some of the courses out there. What we offer is that for all students who take GCSE history, we offer them a chance of a trip to go to France and Belgium for 3 days to visit the sites of World War One, that many of them will study. This is a paid trip, and what we will do is we always run it, try and get the best price possible, and we will release details later on in year 9 once we book the trip. The way that I do it, in order to allow parents and carers to budget, I take several payments. I split it up so we have a payment plan, so you don't just have to pay it all in one go, but you can pay it all in one go if you want to. And it is a fantastic opportunity to go and see the sites of France and Belgium, to actually give you some real life sense of what it was like to be a British soldier on the Western Front between 1914 and 1918. I've run this trip many times in the past in my former school. I was going to run it the first time of the summer of 2020, but because of COVID, that had to be cancelled. So current year 8, you will be the first group of students who go to the battlefields in the summer of 2022. So the basic idea is that we'll look at how the trenches and battles of World War One had an impact on medicine. You see some basic medical care there with soldiers having their feet examined to make sure that they've got no symptoms of trench foot. Finally, we move on to Weimar and Nazi Germany, 1918 to 1939. and it's split into three. We talk about the rise of the Weimar Republic and how that was a democratic government that was in charge of Germany for 15 years between 1918 and 1933. However, the second part, from 1920 onwards, we see the growth of this little small political party that's seen as a bit of a troublemaker, and this former World War I veteran called Adolf Hitler, who, in his rise to power, and his rise to power, and eventually becoming Chancellor of Germany in 1933, which is the second highest role you can get in the German government. But then, from 1933 to 1939, Hitler then becomes Führer, which is the sort of one leader in charge of one party that rules one country. So he becomes a dictator, and we look at the impact that that has on different groups within Nazi Germany. And there you can see an important historical figure that you will all be studying. What is history for you? Well, I've got some statements, and if you can say yes to these statements, then I definitely think the course is for you. The first thing, and arguably the most important thing, is, do you enjoy the subject? If you do, then you are definitely in the right area. It's important that you enjoy the subject because, say, for example, at winter of year 10, January, you've been asked to do an essay, and it's late, it's sort of a dark night, and you've got to do that essay on the night time. You've got that enjoyment of the subject to take you through maybe some of the more challenging times, but the enjoyment of the subject will mean that you will get a lot more out of it throughout the course. The second question is, are you eager to find out the events that shape the world that we live in? And I'm sure the variety of history that we're looking at, you can see that you're going to come out of it a lot more sort of understanding of what's gone on in the world. Do you want to develop the skills required to be successful in life once you've left school? And that's what we've talked about before. Many of the skills that you will learn in history are the ones that will lead you to be successful in the future. And it's a bit corny, but do you want to make history at Trentham Academy? The first year group that I took through when I first came 3 years ago, they got the highest results in history that the department had ever achieved. And my challenge for you is that will continue in the upcoming years, and you will be the sort of third or fourth group that we've taken through who will continue to produce those record results. And I want you to be part of that success that we all enjoy. Then, as Lord Kitchener would say, GCSE history wants you. So, post-16 and career opportunities and the subject, I've touched on this already. But there are a huge variety of different opportunities you can get with a history GCSE. Here are a few. You're not just going to be a history teacher, but a journalist, career in the civil service, anything to do with law. A lot of people who specialise in law don't take law as a GCSE, or definitely don't take law as an A-level. It's become more popular now to take law as an A-level, but definitely sort of 5 years ago that many universities would recommend that you didn't take law at an A-level, that a history GCSE or an English GCSE is what you need to be able to take law at a higher level. And there are many other jobs there, but basically there are loads of opportunities for you to use a history GCSE. And our commitment to you, just to finish off then, folks, to ensure that we do everything possible to support and challenge you as a student and your child, if you are a parent or carer out there, to succeed. Okay, and that means supporting them, telling them when they're doing well, but also challenge students. You're going to be challenged when we feel that if you are not performing, and that's important that you understand that. Okay, to develop the skills required for college, university, and the world of work. And as I've said before, we believe that we offer a diverse, engaging curriculum So diverse means that, you know, for students out there, we cover completely different parts of history. It's exciting. That allows your child to reach their true potential. Well, that's the end of my presentation. I hope that you've enjoyed it, even though it is online. Further information can be found on our curriculum page, or you can email me. And I do believe there is an opportunity for you to be involved in a Q&A session on a virtual parents' evening when it comes to preference selections. So that's it. I've covered everything, and I look forward to seeing you in September. Thanks very much.